All right, I want to bring in my good friend, U.S. Senator from Texas, Senator Ted Cruz. And, Senator, this is I'm sure you heard what Mark said. This is a sad day for the country, as he put it. We've turned a corner. He is worried about what happens next to the United States of America. I want to get your initial overall reaction to this, and then I want to talk with you about what's going to happen next. But first, your reaction.
Today is an absolute outrage. I listened to everything Mark said. Mark's exactly right. Today is it's a tragic day for our country, because today is a significant turning point in our nation's history. Today marks a moment in the death of the rule of law. This indictment is utter garbage. It is baseless. It is frivolous. It has no legal predicate. It is entirely a partisan attack. This is a left-wing Democrat DA elected with over $1 million of money from George Soros, who came into office filled with hatred for Donald Trump. And he decided to use the power of his office to indict Donald Trump. Facts be damned, law be damned, justice be damned, fairness be damned. He hates Trump, and he's going to do everything he can to attack him. Listen, I've spent my entire life fighting to defend the Constitution. I revere the Constitution. Today, the framers of the Constitution are weeping. They are weeping because our justice system is meant to follow the law fairly, regardless of your party, regardless of who you are. Law is not meant to be a weapon to attack your political enemies. And today it is the culmination. We have seen for 6 long years the Democrats weaponizing our law enforcement system, weaponizing the Department of Justice, weaponizing the FBI, weaponizing the CIA, weaponizing our district attorney offices, and using them to target and persecute their enemies. When that happens, all of us are less safe. When that happens, liberty is in jeopardy, not just for Donald J. Trump, for all of us. Look, there are banana republics, there are dictatorships across the world where law is used. If you cross the regime, you get prosecuted. The United States is supposed to be different. I am angry and I'm heartbroken at the same time, because what we're seeing is absolute garbage.
We just got in a statement, Senator, and I want to read this quickly, a statement from Donald J. Trump. It says, this is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. For the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hard-working men and women in this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. You remember it just like I do. Russia, Russia, Russia. The Miller hoax. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax. Impeachment hoax number 1. Impeachment hoax number 2. The illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid. And now this. He said, quote, the Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person, an act of blatant election interference. Your reaction to that first part of his statement?
I think President Trump is exactly right. This is being done, number 1, because Alvin Bragg and the Democrats hate Donald Trump, and number 2, because they want to interfere in the election. They want to reelect Joe Biden, and they're willing to abuse the justice system to do it. And I will say, if you're sitting there wondering, okay, what's behind all of this? What's the basis of the indictment? What is the law? I want to refer everyone, Ben, you and I do every week, 3 times a week, a podcast called Verdict with Ted Cruz. 3 times a week we analyze, we go into deep dive on the issues that are facing this country, that are before Congress, that are before the White House, and we explain what's really happening. Last week, we did an entire podcast, the title of which is Trump Indictment is Garbage. Understand the facts and law to know why this is a brazen political persecution. We did the podcast immediately after Trump said he was going to be arrested. Every bit of the explanation in the podcast, if you want, when you go to work tomorrow, to turn to your coworker and know why this is a garbage prosecution, I want to encourage folks, go listen to the podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, the podcast, Trump Indictment is Garbage, from last week, and it will walk you through chapter and verse why this is utterly baseless under the law.
Well, let's talk about Alvin Bragg for a second here, Senator. And this is a guy that was handpicked and funded by George Soros. That's the exact words of Donald Trump. I think he's completely right here. But there is an obsession now, the left, that they say, okay, he's indicted. We're going to see a mugshot of Donald Trump. That may be the saddest day in modern political history, in the history of this country, to see a former president indicted over something as garbage as this indictment. But there is also a lot of people that have been saying, well, if he's indicted, he's no longer eligible to run for president. That's not true. So explain the legal ramifications for this, for Donald Trump running for office.
Well, it is not true. His being indicted has zero impact on his eligibility to run for president. It has zero impact on his eligibility to be elected president or to serve as president. The only way an individual can be barred from running for president is if that individual is impeached by the House of Representatives and convicted by two-thirds of the Senate, and the Senate imposes the penalty of making them ineligible for federal law. And so the Democrats are not trying to bar President Trump from running for office. Legally, what they're trying to do is make this a political mess. They want that mugshot. Look, we've all seen online on Twitter that the sort of left-wing fan fiction porn where they imagine they paint Trump's face in an orange jumpsuit, and it titillates the fantasies of the left wing. They want that picture. Now, I'm going to predict right now that Trump, when he takes the mugshot, which we will all see, that he's going to be wearing a very crisp suit with a bright red tie and is going to be smiling. But they're nonetheless going to be thrilled because they're going to do everything they can to use that imagery. I think it's going to backfire badly. I think Alvin Bragg may have given the single largest in-kind contribution to a presidential campaign in history, because people understand this is garbage. Look, the basis of this is not anything that Trump did when he was president. The basis of this indictment is a payment that allegedly happened in 2016 during the presidential campaign. It was $130,000 that Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, allegedly gave to Stormy Daniels, the porn star who claims she had an affair with Donald Trump. Now, whether or not they had an affair, that's not illegal. Even in New York City, that's not illegal. So that's not the basis of the indictment. The basis of the indictment is a New York law, New York Penal Law 175.05, which makes it a crime to create a false business record. Now, it's a misdemeanor. The misdemeanor has a 2-year statute of limitations. Now, I may not be the best at math, but 2016, the last I checked, more than 2 years has passed since 2016. So Alvin Bragg can't bring that misdemeanor. So what this case, to get around the statute of limitation, what Alvin Bragg is trying to do is rely on a different statute, which is New York Penal Law 175.10, which says it's a felony if you create a false business record in order to commit another crime. So they've got to prove a predicate crime and then the false business record. And here's the whole heart of the claim, is that on the books, they claim that Trump recorded the $130,000 as legal fees, when in fact it wasn't legal fees, it was hush money. Now, that theory is the exact theory that was used to prosecute John Edwards. Remember the Democrat senator who ran for president, who had an affair. They tried to prosecute him on this, and it got blown out of court. Not only that, and here's an amazing fact that you will not hear on CNN, you will not hear in the corporate media. If this is a crime, then Hillary Clinton did the exact same thing. And here's what you need to understand. Hillary Clinton, in 2016, in the middle of the campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign paid over $1 million for the Steele dossier, the bogus fake attack on President Trump, full of lurid rumors that have now been thoroughly debunked and disproven. The Hillary Clinton campaign paid over $1 million to create that work of fiction. The Hillary Clinton campaign recorded that $1 million plus as, quote, legal fees. They literally did the same thing that they're alleging Trump did. Now, Hillary Clinton did it in the same place, New York City, at the same time, 2016, that Trump is alleged to have done so, and she did it with 10 times as much money. There is no rational way for Alvin Bragg or any Democrat to say, if Trump does it, it's a felony, but Hillary Clinton does it, nothing to see here, I'm not concerned at all. This is blatant partisanship.
Last question I want to ask you, and I want to ask you solely a political question here. You've obviously run for president. You've run against Donald Trump. When you see this indictment come down, if you were running against Trump right now, and knowing what you know about politics, could this be one of the biggest overreaches and backfires in modern political history by the opposite party thinking they're nailing somebody to the wall in Donald Trump, in reality giving him a gift?
I think it could be exactly that. I think any of Donald Trump's primary opponents or potential primary opponents are incredibly unhappy right now, because the rich irony is it could very well turn out that Alvin Bragg, the left-wing Democrat elected with over $1 million of George Soros money, elected to let criminals go, to release violent criminals from jail in New York, it could well be that Alvin Bragg will have played a pivotal role in re-electing Donald Trump as president. It is, and what's interesting, look, they held off for over a week. A lot of national Democrats understood this was a really bad move, and I think Bragg was getting massive pressure from national Democrats. Do not do this. And my assumption is Bragg is such a partisan. He said, screw it, I'm doing it anyway. I hate the guy. And that's all this is. And I got to say, it is really, really dangerous. If you want to understand just how much the justice system was corrupted to go after Donald Trump, I'd encourage you to read the book that I wrote just a couple of months ago. It's called Justice Corrupted: How the Left Has Weaponized the Legal System, and it explains how the deep state went after Donald Trump, how they corrupted DOJ, how they corrupted the FBI. It talks about Alvin Bragg and the George Soros prosecutors. If you want to understand it, go read Justice Corrupted. It'll take you inside to understand what happened today is an absolute outrage, and it is dangerous for every American who cares about his or her liberty.
I'll say this. I think George Soros may think that today was his biggest victory. In reality, this may be the biggest screw-up of his entire political obsession with taking down Trump and taking down conservatives. Senator, I appreciate your time as always, sir. Great to chat with you on this. I mean this sincerely. A sad day for this country. This is bad.